All right, Baldy, chill out. We're gonna slide over to some Made in Tokyo. Let's start off with some ice cream swag. Now, I thought the reason I really wanted to talk about Made in Tokyo, not only because I thought this album was pretty good, secondarily I wanted to talk about it because a few weeks ago we heard the BET Uncut single that came out. It's him, Chance the Rapper, Smino. If you haven't heard it, it's pretty good. I would check it out. It was just a single for the record. This album is called Never Forgotten. But when we talked about that single, we got into a cool little breaking conversation about artists like Made in Tokyo that found themselves pretty poppin' at one point with a single or a few singles and maybe had like one big album release because of those singles. And then when they level out and they're not like the biggest sensation in the world or a huge sensation in the world, and how do they adjust to that level of music and putting out projects? And we were hoping that, provided that Made in Tokyo still seems to have good relationships in the industry and still seems like he's interested in doing something new for himself, that you can come back and you can make a pretty dope record that might do well for you, might sell well for you, might just kind of put you back on the map. I think this album kind of echoes those sentiments. So real quick, I want to ask y'all if y'all have seen the album cover and what y'all think of the album cover.
I like the album cover.
The
I didn't
album,
get to the thing though. That's the only thing. But I like the album cover a lot. I really do.
yeah, that was one of the first things because it was out when the single came out. That made me think this album could be interesting because this album art is really kind of particular and interesting. Trent, what about you?
I like it too. It reminds me of like some weird fucking like fairy tale shit.
Yeah, like some
Mother
kind of
Goose and
Alice in
Grimm
Wonderland-y type
Yeah.
thing. And I think a good note to make here is that in the first song, you realize he's kind of talking about his son and how his son is going to be the sequel to him, basically, and how, that kind of thought there. So that makes sense with him here, like his head and then his child's head inside of his head, and then the rabbit and all that. So, yeah, cool, like an album cover that makes me wonder what I'm going to hear. And then I did like that in the first song, I kind of got some callback on that. So you're right, it does look, it's intriguing, and I think is a good way to start off things. Now, another good place to start on this album, I think, is probably its features, because there's kind of a lot of them. So I'll run down the list of features, and then if y'all have any that were particularly interesting or your favorites or made for good songs, let me know. We got J Balvin, Young Nudie, Ty Dolla $ign at 24 Hours on the song. Y'all know Made in Tokyo in 24 Hours runs super deep. Toro y Moi on a song. And then after that, Cameron, we just heard that. Then after that, the Chance the Rapper and Smino single. Then we go a couple songs without a feature. We got BJ the Chicago Kid on here. I forget what homie's last name is, but Nakel, the skater,
Smith.
musician.
I think his last name's Smith.
Nakel Smith, which I will say that was one of my favorite features. China, Rip China. That was a cool feature to have on here. Wiz Khalifa's on here. And then finally, Lucky is on here. So the array of features that show up is what caught my eye. But did any of those individual features speak to you?
I'll say right off the bat, man, I actually really fuck with the J Balvin shit, which I thought was gonna be like one of the weirdest ones that like maybe I wouldn't like, but I don't know why. I'm sure they had to like record in different studios or whatever, and that the audio is not the same, like it's not mixed the same, but it sounds kind of tight, and he like layers those weird vocals or whatever. I don't know. I've never listened to J Balvin, so I don't really know like have a reference of like that's what his music usually sounds like. But I was fun with that. I like the BJ track. The Tori Ma was a single, I think. I think I'd already heard that, but liked it. And I don't know, not really a bad one. The only one I wasn't crazy about was, I think the Wiz was like maybe the only one I was like.
The Wiz is the worst one. The Wiz was the worst one. That was like on the lower end of my hopes and expectations for a Wiz Khalifa feature on that.
Right.
Yeah. You can get you a J Balvin meal at McDonald's right now. They got the Travis Scott meal and they got the J Balvin meal. I forget what's in the J.
McFlurry. It's a McFlurry and a something. I don't know.
I'm glad you know though, but I'm sure I've been to a McDonald's more recently than you have.
I haven't been to a McDonald's in like 8 years.
I'll tell you what. I've definitely been to one in the last 8 years.
After a Blazer game one time. Jalen, you heard this shit, right?
The album?
I didn't. I really.
Oh, you didn't.
But from the features that y'all are saying, I feel like, all right, if I were to go back to listen, I feel like the BJ Chicago Kid would probably be the one I would be most likely to jump to out of all the features.
BJ's Chicago Kid feature I liked. The Chance and Smino features I liked as well. Probably my favorite. Man, this is tough. There's some good ones on here. I also, probably my top 3 are Cameron, Tori Moi, and maybe Young Nudie. For me, personally. And I said I did like that Nakel one. The China one, I think was really significant for the reason that it's significant. And I really, like Trent said, I was really only thoroughly disappointed in the Wiz Khalifa feature.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I was like kind of the Lucky track isn't bad, but I feel like after you've had like Tori Moi, Cameron, BJ, Nikel, you've had all these like weirder ones, and then you have like Lucky as the last one. I was kind of like, that's kind of a lame ender.
And you kind of already covered that territory with the Nakel feature, because the direction Nakel went with his feature was very much in that lane. So yeah, I would say there's kind of no way you could slice it to me that this album is just a touch too long. Like, there's definitely got to be a song or 2 or 3 that could come out of here. But even despite that, I mean, the reason I wanted to have us talk about it and talk about it first is because I want to suggest it. I want to recommend it. I think this is pretty good, in terms of like an album. Let me take apart a couple individual components of this that I think I could explain best. Made in Tokyo, the rhyme schemes, the rapping, still a little like remedial to me, as they kind of always were. And that was like the biggest problem with Made in Tokyo, was just the pure simplicity and redundancy of like the lyrics, the ad libs, just the whole package was just like a little cut and paste. But I think the instrumentals chosen, really dope. A lot of these are still K-Swisha beats, so that's awesome too. He's always worked with K-Swisha since day one. And so the fact that they can both kind of grow, evolve a little bit together and still come out with something like this and evolve is dope to me as well. The features do kind of help me sell this thing because, like I said, before, that clearly with this list of features, like, he's someone that's got his webs out there in the industry, and like he can call on people to come together for songs like these. And I think that's a big deal for someone who, like, not everybody's like, oh, crazy, that Made in Tokyo album dropped. So if you have all these features on there and you're not necessarily getting carried by those features, then I think you're making a pretty good album. And I do think this album is significant with those features, but I do have songs like Level Up, at least 1 or 2 more songs in here that, and Movie I talked about as being cool in the beginning.
Bro,
tracks that don't have
is crazy.
Yeah, another one that doesn't have a feature that still holds the weight. And even when there is a feature, he still comes in and can hold the weight. But yeah, Young Nudie, Toro y Moi, Cameron, man. Cameron came through with a nasty feature. And that Toro y Moi song, I think, is the one that kind of goes in that most dynamic direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think the thing about Madeintyo is like he'll always just be like a fun artist. Like I don't really know if he's ever gonna make like an album that really digs deeper than like surface level, but his surface level is like super entertaining. I remember when I first heard the album though, I was like, this would have been a really, really solid album like 4 months ago, because I'm in the headspace in like June, July to be listening to this kind of shit. Right now, I'm back on like my fucking the God Fahim every day and like shit. I'm like kind of getting depressed.
The way more depressing shit. Yeah, this kind of makes you want to pop shit off, but it's not that time.
Right.
Like we literally about to elect a president.
Right. Like fucking, I can't even see like down the block. It's foggy out. Like I can't.
Yeah, what am I supposed to like party to this shit? Yeah. That's a great point you make. Yeah, I don't think. For some reason, while I do really enjoy this, I don't know that it'll get a ton of spins for me by the end of the year. I think I'll go back to it because it's got some moods on it that I like. But yeah, you're right. I'm kind of moving into a different feel right now.
Yeah.
But again, good for Madeintyo, man.
Very good.
And I didn't even mind his last project, Sincerely Tokyo, which came out in 2018. That actually has some bops on it too.
I love that project. It has the Blood Orange track. It has the Roy Woods track. Like there's some fun, and I like it a little more because it's a little more concise. I don't know if I like it more than this recent one, but I like that it's concise.
Yeah, the new album is 17 songs. I wish that album was 14 songs like this one.
Yeah,
it took out a couple songs. Definitely the Wiz Khalifa one on the top of my head, and there's probably one or two more that would make this like a tighter piece. But overall, I'm not super mad at it. So.
Didn't he say that last album was gonna be like his last album?
I thought he did say that. I feel like I remember him saying that.
That makes sense. Maybe he wanted to get out of a deal or something. I wonder if he changed any representation. So the 2018 drop was Private Club, commissioned music under exclusive license to BMG. So indie label to a big label. And then this one is just Private Club Records and commissioned music. No exclusive license to BMG. So, that was his last album probably as that, as that artist. And this, I don't know if it's a completely indie project, but it sounds like what it is. So if that's the case, that's even cooler. That he was able to do that and get all these features, because you do get some that have bigger names. Like there's Ty Dolla $ign on here. There's fucking J Balvin on here. And then there's Young Nudie. And then there's, China and Knockhell and BJ the Chicago Kid. So not bad, man. Sounds like a dub for the homie.